For the next item on my agenda, I'm going to ask Joanne Query, President of Saginaw Future, to come forward. Joanne is a member of my economic development team, which consists of Joanne and three of her colleagues, as well as Beth Ernat, the Executive Director of the Saginaw DDA, and Bill Ernat, who is serving as the Interim Director of the Community and Economic Development Operations of the City of Saginaw. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Joanne, and she will make the necessary introductions for the presentation.
Mr. Earley, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I guess 1991 was a pretty good year because not only did you have the foresight to form the Mid-Michigan Waste Authority, but you also began planning to form Saginaw Future in 1992, and we've been partners for the last 21 years providing economic development in the city. So Saginaw Future serves at the direction of the city manager. We meet with businesses on your behalf, on behalf of the city, and we're part of that team to do economic development to attract jobs and investment to the city of Saginaw with the Downtown Development Authority and the city's economic development staff. And each month we meet with the city manager and we talk about all the economic development activity in the city, and we look for his direction and we proceed with the projects. So in April of 2012, we began working with Ms. Dolores McKinney, who was born in Saginaw and expressed her great love for this city. She's the owner of a very well-respected construction firm in the Washington, D.C. area. After reviewing the city's recently completed master plan, as well as the studies that have been done through the years, you might recall the Hyatt Palma study for downtown, the Vision 2020 plan, the DDA's TIF plan, and other documents, she brought together a group of community leaders and residents to explore the potential for implementing a design charrette process which would focus on downtown Saginaw. And the key is that when Dolores McKinney came to us, she offered her assistance and support, and she asked all of us if we wanted to lead it, but she really had the expertise and the resources, and so we embraced that fully. The intended outcome is to have an executionable economic development plan that's relevant, feasible, and innovative, and is to be implemented by our organization, the DDA, and the city economic development staff. So we're not doing this plan to take the place of any of our organizations, but to have a plan that we can follow to execute to bring economic development and to give to developers so that they know what our expectation is to build on the great development that's been occurring in downtown. She has a lot of letters of support from Saginaw Future, the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce, business and community leaders, education support, and she's presented to the DDA and the Planning Commission as well, who provided their support. So again, our goal is to have an updated vision for downtown and to try to have a document that we can provide to those that we're trying to attract to the downtown area. You may have seen recently that the City of Bay City is in the midst of a year-long urban plan to shape Bay City's redevelopment patterns in a positive way for the next couple generations there, while giving it a competitive edge for redevelopment. And that's our vision, too, for our planning effort. So I'd like to call Dolores McKinney up, and she can talk to you about the design charrette process, and then I'll come back up to talk about our role, the city's role, and where we go, and what we're asking for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Manager, good evening. You know, Joanne said one important thing. She talked about the charrette planning process and who's going to implement it. It's really about bringing the people together here in the city and the people implementing the plan. And I know we've provided you guys with some handouts as to what the charrette is, but basically charrette is a process, a planning process that engages all stakeholders. It's a structured process that's being utilized all over the world. Lansing currently today is doing a 21-mile design charrette led by MISTA. As Joanna said, Bay City's doing the same thing. And so for us, it's not about who does what. It's a community project. It's for the people. The people, everything we've done has been done by the people that live in this community. The advantage, I think, that our group has been able to do, we've been, and you've said that several times tonight, where are we going to get the funding? We have no money. That's the advantage that our group has been able to bring to the table. Not only have we said, let's do this process, and the people that live in this community need to lead it and be a part of it, but we've stepped back and we've said, we'll fund this opportunity. So now that's where the rubber meets the road. We're able to move forward. And the thing that we've asked is the support of the city of Saginaw. And so often I'll get that comment, why do you need the city support? Well, as public-private partnerships become more and more important throughout the United States, in order for you to go to a federal level for funding, or even to a state level, your community has to be cohesive. It has to be together. We are much stronger in numbers. And so as we come before you today requesting your support for this process, we think it's very important that as we move forward with anything that we do in this community, we have to have a systemic plan that all stakeholders are involved or engaged to what that plan is going to be. And as Joanne said, we need set outcomes. So today we come before you to request your support for this community, done by the community, for the design charrette process. Is there any questions?
Hi, Ms. McKinney.
Hello, Councilman Braddock.
To be specific, you have a project that you've been touting over the last few months, the Cal Ripken project. How does that fit into this? Is that something where you go to this charrette? A charrette is where you get a group of people together and they start talking about what they'd like to see downtown look like. Is that correct?
You're correct in that. You are very correct in that. As far as it pertains to our goal when we started this process wasn't to do a charrette. Our goal was to see what we could do to bring jobs and economic development to the city of Saginaw. Mm-hmm. So we set out 5 projects that we wanted to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. They may not stick, they may not work, but that was our goal, 5 projects. But before you go to putting projects together, you really need a plan. Mm-hmm. Because without a plan, you plan to fail. And so fortunately for us, as you've just spoken, we conducted a feasibility study in January. When I say we, it was a community. We formed a steering committee of local people here in Saginaw. They decided how they were going to do it. Again, we funded that study, but it was all done with the people here in Saginaw, because that's our goal, is to get people engaged, to begin to believe and have hope, and realize that it's going to be done with them. There's no Tonton Long Ranger. It's going, the citizens in this Saginaw, in Saginaw have the capabilities to do these things, to make major transformations and be a part of it. And so the Cal Ripken project, we were very fortunate. The feasibility study was complete. And the first thing that Cal Ripken has said in the study, the first thing for next steps is it has to be part of a comprehensive development program, meaning that you have to have the hotels, you have to have the restaurants, you have to, all these things, the entertainment venues. But as you just said, Councilman Braddock, the people will decide how it's going to be done. They will decide how their city is going to be done. Of course, there'll be oversight. We have NCI Charrette, we have AIA, and we have all the local architects and engineers in the community involved, but the people will basically say how they want to see their city. So I think that's very important to have that buy-in from the community.
So you're saying you want input from the community? You don't necessarily want money from the community? Do you want the community to make a contribution financially to make it happen? Because, you can get a room full of people together and they have all these different ideas, and there's some will be conflicting. So how do you decide which ideas are the best ideas? Is it a democracy or is it a dictatorship?
Well, it's very much a democracy, and what'll happen is that and that's why we have the NCI group, they'll facilitate and they'll talk about best practices and what other cities have done. And we really need to be able to take advantage of best practices, the good and the bad, which have been done all throughout the United States in communities very similar to Saginaw that has come back. And you'll find that collaboratively, there'll be people in the room that may not agree, but at the end of the day, we have to all realize that our decisions need to be really based on what's best for the community. And that's why the charrette process engages the civic, the religious community, the citizen, on the street. It engages all stakeholders at different parts of that it's going to be a 5-day charrette during that charrette process, so everybody feels like they've been heard. Even though you may get heard, your ideal might not get implemented, but often we feel much better when our ideals are heard.
You know, I'm all for creating jobs, but I get kind of nervous when entrepreneurs talking about creating jobs, because really what an entrepreneur wants to do is to make money. It's to make a profit. Is this a for-profit venture or a non-profit venture?
This is a nonprofit venture, and it's very interesting you say that, because when I came back home to Saginaw, my goal was to help the community, so I started donating money. And what I realized is what I donated my money to was not a sustainable project. So I said, let me take this money, instead of giving people fish, let's teach them how to fish. And that way, each year, it's sustainable. It never has to have a giving again. So our goal was to bring these projects to the table. Even our nonprofit, we're not going to exist through each year having fundraisers go out and raise money. This nonprofit will own a little bit of everything that comes in the city. So it'll bring the food to the table, it'll eat, and it'll help others eat, but it will be sustainable for the duration and continually bring economic development projects to this area. And we're focused. We're only engaged to the city of Saginaw. I've been told several times, why don't you take it to BV? Our goal is to bring tax dollars into the city of Saginaw. You talk about the Ripken project, and projected for that particular project is to bring $15 million direct spending to this community every year. Huge for us. We think that's a great win. So those are the types of projects that our goal is to bring to the table, and it will be through a nonprofit.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. I certainly applaud your efforts on behalf of the city. I'm just trying to figure out, as I understand what you're saying, it's a planning process, is what the charrette is, correct?
You're correct, yes.
I'm trying to figure out how it fits in. We have a master plan, we have the DDA that does its own work. That is a development process. I'm trying to figure out how the charrette will fit in with what exists without duplicating what we have. Certainly, I know you don't want to duplicate what we have either. So I'm trying to figure that out, because I haven't been able to yet.
Well, let me tell you this. Your master plan is a guide, and it says that all throughout. What we're saying is we have some specific things that we want to do, that we want to bring to the table, to bring projects to fruition. So really, we're working within that master plan. There's several things in that plan that the citizens have identified: safety, jobs. I think there's 5 basic things, and I think we're doing that with the projects that we're bringing to the table. And that's the uniqueness. Ours is an executable plan. If you take your master plan right now, it is a guide. It guides you through what really the city is looking for, and we've read that several times, and so we've incorporated that. But ours is very specific. We're going to do certain things. We're going to do certain projects. We're going to go after those projects a certain way. So I think ours is more of an executable plan, and it fits right in the master plan.
If I could jump in, I think the way that I would probably answer that question is that the master plan is more of a strategic land use plan, and I think the charrette process is looking at as it more of a tactical, block by block, specific project plan. Would that be fairly accurate?
You're accurate on that. It's very much more tactical because it's specific.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I, once again, thank you very much for coming and meeting with many of these groups. And I hear community involvement, but at the same time I'm hearing we have plans, we have projects that we already want to bring. Did that involve community involvement, or is this just ideas? And I don't know where the balance between getting the community involved and also having projects already in mind that you're bringing. I mean, because several times I've heard we have projects and we have things already planned.
Well, actually, we didn't have any projects, and everything that we've done has been with the community. As I've told you, we formed a 7-person steering committee for the Cal Ripken. Buzz William Kibbe and Associate was a chair on that. Senator Khan was an honorary chair, and Representative Oaks was an honorary chair on that event. So we're talking about, we're community. The second project that we're doing, it includes University of Michigan, and I won't speak on that. I'm just telling you about the collaboration. Michigan Department of Agriculture, Michigan State. So we're collaborating with locals. It's all about the people here getting it done.
I'm hearing SVSU, I'm looking at the flow chart.
That's not a flow chart, sir. That's the people that I've met with. And if you look on the bottom, it'll tell you whether I've met with them yet. It'll say if I've met with them. That's not a flow chart.
Okay. And this is a chart just to show who you've met with.
That's my personal chart to track who
Because
I've met with.
it's-
And that's not even inclusive at this point. I've probably met with over 200 people with one-on-one meetings in this community, just trying to see how we can all work together.
My concern is we do have the Riverfront Commission, we do have the DDA. I'm still not sure how they would fit into this process, or do they have a part in this process?
Well, we welcome everyone to the table. We've actually gone to both groups and said, if you want to do it, we'll support you. And if they have any projects, if you can tell me what projects they're working on to this level, we'd be more than happy to work with them. So is there any particular project you can speak of? Because we work with them.
I'm asking because there's a lot of DDA people here sitting in the room, and there's concern, I think, that they're sitting here in the room. And I haven't heard those concerns, but very seldom do we see them sitting here in the numbers that we're seeing now. So Riverfront, I can't answer for that. So because what we're doing here is, I'm looking at projects that have already been going on.
Yes.
And we've been very blessed lately with the development downtown, the Bancroft-Eddy projects, the other ones that are going on downtown. We're very proud of those, and those have all developed. This would be an addition above that, or would this be, I mean, how does it fit in? Because I'm not sure how it's fitting in yet. I'm just not grasping exactly what, I want the community involvement in our projects that we want to present. That's what I'm hearing.
No, we want community involvement, but I think you need to separate. The charrette planning process will actually augment the things that you're currently doing in the city today. It will set things that complement each other in the city, and so it'll augment what you have today.
If this was approved with our blessing here, what's the next step? Are you meeting then with all these people to find out what's happening, or we've already done that?
Oh, I've met with over 200 people one-on-one meetings on this in the last year and a half. We've put a lot of time, and we've always sent out invites to everything that we've had. We've made personal invitations. We just had a 30-person training process for the charrette, which engaged quite a few people from the city.
Okay.
So we've had open arms. When we first approached, we said, DDA, if you want to do it, we'll support you. We'll financially support you and do all the work. No one wanted to do it. So, we were more than open to that process, and we're not trying to do anyone's job or duplicate, because if they have projects on the table, we'll support their projects. Just let us know what they are, and if you want them to speak while they're here, we'd be more than happy to hear about it.
I'm just trying to get the process here.
Yeah.
If we approve this, if we give, and I see no reason why the council would not. Don't misread me. I want a little more structure of exactly what happens. And I want to make sure we have involvement of all the agencies within the city, across the whole city. I just want to make sure that that's being done, that's all.
No, I agree with that, and maybe I can add to it. If you look at the NCI website, just put NCI charrette,
Sure.
NCI, it'll show you the process and what a community goes through using that group, which is the one that Dolores is bringing to Saginaw to work with all of us. I think with this one, the point is that none of us were in a position financially or with staff resources to be able to lead an effort like this. We've never done this before. She's done this in other communities and understands, has worked with NCI Charrette and the American Institute of Architects, and agreed to help staff it and bring them here and pay for it. We would all be part of it, and we're the ones that'll will be implementing it. But we're hoping that everyone on council and the DDA board and the Downtown Saginaw board and the West Saginaw Civic Association and Saginaw Future and the Chamber are all involved in the process to provide input. So we're all involved in the process. She's just helping to lead it.
Thank you.
And we so appreciate that leadership.
And that's what I was really
Yes.
getting to, is the involvement, and you're telling me that we've already started that process already. That's already been,
There's already been meetings with all the different groups, and
Right.
today was the last meeting that the manager asked us to go to, because we've been to the DDA and to the Planning Commission. So I wanted to give you the respect to let you know where this has been, who's supporting it, and then to get your support. Now, it doesn't mean you endorse the plan. It means that you're supporting the fact that we're moving forward with this planning process, hopefully have input, and then when the plan is completed, bring it back to you to see if it's something that you would endorse to implement. Whenever we go for federal funding on any project, we have to have a plan, and we don't have one right now that we could submit to the federal government or the state government, listing our priorities and what we have specifically planned for downtown. So we use leveraging what we have in place and all the developments that are taking place, and we're augmenting it with this plan on our vision of where we see this moving forward.
and you're saying then, when that plan is complete, then that would come back?
Absolutely.